Well, so naturally with the stream that I ended up doing last night coming to a close at around about the 3 hour mark, a lot of people might not watch that for the duration. Some might be put off by the fact that within a matter of minutes of it starting, my mic did what it always does and decided to cut out on me, unbeknownst to me, of course. So I prattled on like a twat, talking to myself for a good 20-25 minutes before somebody. I don't know if it was actually as long as that. I'd have to check again. But a few people actually telegrammed me to tell me that it was happening again. So they came to my aid. So I'm thankful for that. And eventually I invited somebody on, Exiled Viking, who's been on before, to essentially babysit me so he could let me know if my mic did what it always does. But that said, I still have to press on for the time being. And something that came across prior to doing the stream itself was something on the Scottish Parliament or the Scottish Government's website, and it was an accident actually how I'd come across it, but I'm quite glad I did, because it's something that I think deserves a video in and of itself, purely just for documentation purposes, if nothing else, so people can keep an eye on it themselves. People know that it's there. It's a bit more insight, or in terms of the members lists of this anti-racist push that's taking place across the board. There's 4 separate subgroups within a larger group. Now, we obviously knew that the larger group existed. It was an entity alongside the COVID advisory, ethnicity group, etc. There's all these different groups that have all kind of come out of the woodwork in the past few years, but this one's more focused on the educational front. So yeah, as I said, I'm glad that I did come across this, and I just feel if I don't make a separate video on it, and if people don't watch the stream all the way to the end, then they might not have seen me going through a bit of that. But that said, here's it here. This is the first. I've got five tabs, and then I've got the minutes. I've tried to find videos of these sort of committees taking place, these little group meetings that they all have, but nah, they're nowhere to be found. It's very strange how these people seem to operate with a semblance of secrecy when it comes to actually having these discussions. I mean, obviously now the minutes have been released, but the minutes came out months after the fact. The minutes. When was the minutes released? Actually, the minutes were released on the 28th of March, 2022, but the actual meeting took place on the 27th of January. That in and of itself I find bizarre, why it's taken so long. But what I find equally, if not more bizarre, is the fact that every time one of these events occurs, every time one of these meetings take place, it's always done under some sort of secrecy. It's the same way that the Building Racial Literacy program is built behind some sort of paywall, effectively. But instead of paying to enter and gain access, you have to be an active anti-racist teacher that's participating in the program in order to view what they are currently in the process of creating. So I find that stuff very bizarre, but nonetheless I will continue to keep an eye, and naturally I am admitting that on the airwaves. I'm not daft enough to, or up my own arse enough to believe that the anti-racists are watching what I'm saying about them. But, if they ever did come across these videos, now they know that I'm watching them. But what else fucking do, they're pretty damn safe, hidden behind their paywall. But nonetheless, so this is the overview of the stakeholder network group, right? And it kind of gives you an insight as to who these stakeholders are. Because for a long time when I made videos, I used to wonder, and I used to say it quite often, who are the stakeholders? They were always referencing stakeholders, but they would never actually say who they are, or what group they came from. These entities that the government were always working in tandem with to come up with policy. And now it's becoming very clear, especially as this year and the last year especially have come to pass, that these stakeholders are just individuals or groups or activist groups, etc., and they work alongside the government. That's all this is. There's no importance. This isn't important organisations that we're talking about here. We're just talking about non-entities that call themselves anti-racist activists in this regard. Not limited to, obviously, but so anyway, I'm rambling a bit, but the Scottish Government's Race Equality and Anti-Racism and Education programme It was established in response to the significant amount of correspondence received by the Deputy First Minister as part of the Black Lives Matter movement, and one of the recommendations made by the COVID-19 ethnicity expert group seeking to include the teaching of black history in the curriculum. At the end of 2020, officials in Learning Directorate, Education Scotland and the Equality Unit undertook a series of engagement sessions with education and race equality stakeholders to gain a better understanding of what the challenges are in terms of race inequality and racism in schools. So at the beginning of 2021, the Deputy First Minister and the Minister for Older People and Equality, I've got to ask Christina McKelvey, it's always fucking hard, met a number of stakeholders in order to listen to their suggestions for addressing race inequality in schools. So it goes on to say here that the programme's governance consists of a small programme board with representation from the Scottish Government's Learning Directorate and race equality teams. And then they've got the larger stakeholder network group. And the remit centres around race equality and education stakeholder network group, which was established, or has been established, with the central aims of identifying measures which will address race inequality, which remains evident in schools. It remains evident, such a harrowing statistic, shocking statistics when you delve into it. They're talking about disparities, of course. Yeah, so again, it's equity. It's always fucking equity, or lack thereof. Working with marginalised groups, and how do we define a marginalised group? Well, it's any group of people that are not a white man or a white boy. It's that simple. And individuals to ensure that young people from all minority ethnic backgrounds and who experience race inequality, and they all experience race inequality, 1, because they're from an ethnic minority background, 2, because they're BAME, 3, because of disparities, you see. They have their voices heard and can feed into the decision making and implementation of this group's objectives. So, sounds fun. Advising on potential changes in practice and also on concrete short, medium and long term actions to support the desired outcome being the operative word as opposed to opportunity, which is that as a result of an anti-racist approach and a culture of racial literacy amongst all staff and pupils, no minority ethnic child, young person, teacher or member of staff will experience race inequality in a school setting. So again, racial literacy is just another word for for critical race theory. But that said, so is anti-racism in and of itself. It's just the fucking the pathway towards it. It's the doorway. If you start to go down the anti-racist route, you enter the realm of critical race theory. And I've been preaching to the choir for some time about it, but these people themselves actually refer to critical race theory on one of the tabs that I've got open here, which is why I think it's imperative that this is showcased centre stage to whomever will listen. It's all very well and good for me to sit here and tell you all anti-racism means critical race theory, right? But we know it does. I know it does. It says it in black and white, though, this time around. They just come right out and do my fucking job for me, which we'll get to. So it says the group will be an action and outcomes focused one, because it's always about the outcomes, it's never about the opportunities, because we've surpassed that at this point, the fucking self-entitled dickheads. I'm so sick of these people, like, and I'm still worked up over yesterday because of the website that I was going through as well, which I might include after this or in a separate video. Just the fucking cancerous rhetoric that is being pushed and proposed and discussed by these people, this cancerous ideology. And the website that I was going through was promoted by the fucking Scottish Government. Of all entities to promote it, it came directly from them. But the group will bring their different viewpoints to all their different viewpoints. There's such a differing of opinion. That's what I love about the Scottish Government and every single thing that they get involved with, every single thing that they promote in some capacity. The differing opinions that don't exist. All this really would be in terms of a differing opinion will be, how anti-racist are you? Are you pro-critical race theory, or are you uneducated on critical race theory? Sorry, are you racially illiterate? Fuck off. With evidence to develop a set of actions which address race inequality in schools across 4 distinct areas. There's no differing of viewpoints when it comes to what we're actually talking about here with race inequality, you know, where they're all quite content with redefining the fucking word. Curriculum reform, right? That's going to be one instance, which is, as I say, that's there. We've got racism, racist incidents, and bullying, right? That's there. We've got diversity in the teaching profession and education workforce, which is that one, sorry. And finally, we've got school leadership and professional learning, which the culminate is there, right? So all as it should be, shall we say. And then they go on to elaborate a little further by reminding us all that there's already a number of pre-existing work strands which tie in to the rear rep, as they shorten it to. This includes, but is not limited to, so it's riveting stuff to know. It's very thought-provoking to know that there's even more that they just didn't include here, but nonetheless, I think that's enough to swallow for one day. They say the integration of the UNCRC into Scots law, can't fucking wait for that, I'll sleep better at night. The race equality framework for Scotland 2016 to 2030. I forgot all about that, but as I established last night in the stream, I went through that publication like 2 or 3 years ago, and I actually titled it at the time the worst one from the Scottish Government yet, because it's cancer, and it's got a hell of a lot worse since then. Rest assured, the Race Equality Action Plan 2017 to 2021, Race Equality Immediate Priorities Plan, Diversity in the Teaching Profession, because that's something that they really won't shut the fuck up about, and the Fairer Greener Scotland, it's just, oh god. So anyway, they got their members list down here as well. Quite a few heads, some of whom I've heard of, some I have not, so at some point I'll have to do some semblance of deep diving to try and find out a little bit about them. Not that I give a fuck, but it's interesting to know if they're critical race theory activists or if they're just on the anti-racist bandwagon for the time being. But rest assured, they'll all get to the correct destination at some point. A couple of sessions with Kajida Muhammad, and then they'll be a guru just like her. She's so high in IQ, they just... Okay. Oh fuck. Anyway, so you've got the people from COSLA, EIS obviously, Inverclyde Council, Michael Roach. Oh, I might have to have a wee word with John Davidson about Michael Roach, see if he knows anything about him. So Michael Roach, perfect second name for a little dickhead that's involved in this, that's for sure. But if he's part of Inverclyde Council, well, John might have met him, who knows, because obviously he's he's standing for election in the councils that are coming, Michael Roach, you are a fucking roach. And then we got Naneed Aslam from a group I've never heard of, right? We got Rowena Arshole, who is fucking obsessed with browning the teaching workforce in Scotland because apparently that'll make her feel better. And the other BAME children, because that's what's important in Scotland. Fuck the white youth, it's all about the BAMEs. Literally, by the way, need enough when if we're referring to that website I was talking about earlier, we need to diversify and we need to move away from the idea of a white majority ethnic group in Scotland because it makes BAMEs feel like they're being othered. That's where we're at now in Scotland with these people. I'm not joking. Farah Farzana, one of the little I was going to call it a ball bag there, but you see, she was pivotal in all the crucial campaigning that took place for all the regional seats for all the BAMEs in the election, which none of them got in on, and which I found fucking fantastically hilarious, just because they spent the entirety of that election cycle reminding us that they were BAME, and they were complaining that there wasn't enough BAME like them, and they really did all believe wholeheartedly that they were all going to get in. It was it was a golden one-way ticket in because of their brown skin, and not fucking one got in. So that was quite funny. Oh, and I should also add that they were forced to the top of the regional list because they were BAME, and they still didn't get in, which is hilarious. But who's, of course, my girl, my one true love to be, Kajida Big Brain, the Guru Muhammad, it's very good to know that she's part of the committee, but on a more serious note, as opposed to taking the piss out of a woman who really does deserve ridicule. She's on the fucking panel. It tells you all you need to know, realistically. Then you've got some guy from the Refugee Council, and then you've got down here, which is also of worthy note, Melina, whatever her second name is, and she's representing Education Scotland because she's no longer just a fringe whack job who created the anti-racist educator. She's now part of Education Scotland, and as a result has gone on to create the racial literacy programme that's hidden behind that so-called paywall. So there's two examples of people that, one's fucking bad enough, but to have two, and rest assured they ain't the only two in the panel with that sort of worldview. There's more, but two's bad enough, one's fucking bad enough. And then we've got members of the government themselves, lawyers. I don't know who any of these people are, really, I have to be honest. But that said, We get on now to, as it says at the top, the the group will bring their different viewpoints. But we're on about 4 distinct areas. So the first one was curriculum reform, right? So this subgroup is one of 4 work streams established by the Learning Directorate working towards race equality and anti-racism in the education system as part of the larger programme, right? And then they obviously refer to the other work streams. But then they say here that the curriculum reform subgroup identified early on the need to review the existing curriculum framework to seek opportunities to meaningfully embed and articulate race equality and anti-racism, right? And to establish the key principles and features of any future curriculum reform. A small review and design group was created in 2022, January 2022, to take this forward. The vision for this group, is this where the bombshell is dropped, or is this a separate one? Oh, this could be your lucky day, folks. If it is, I can't recall. But anyhow, right, we will find out in due course. The subgroup has a vision that Scotland's schools and early learning environments will promote, right? They will promote and embed racial equity, anti-racism, and global citizenship through its systems, leadership, and curriculum using, drumroll please, a critical race theory framework. There is it in fucking black and white. They themselves have done my job for me. So I no longer have to tell everyone repeatedly that anti-racism means critical race theory. They're saying it themselves now because they're bold and fucking brave. I suppose I would be too if I was getting pandered to relentlessly. You know, and my cancerous ideology that was created in campuses in fucking America was taking centre stage in the walls of the Scottish Parliament. I'd probably be the same way. But of course, they then say, a critical race theory framework. And bearing in mind, global citizenship have gone for all this shit as well. That in and of itself was bad enough. But fucking hell, man. Fuck's sake. And it's the fact of the matter is, these fucking people are targeting our youth. Do you have children? It doesn't matter if you don't, by the way. It's not the point. But fuck's sake. Fucking disgust me. All our learners and people, because they're doing all this shit for the poor BAMEs. They're doing it for their own in-group. That's their in-group. The little baby BAMEs, that's their group. Right? But it's to the detriment of our group. Our youth, our children. You fucking people, you're that unhappy, fuck off. I'm fucking sick of it. Oh, but we're Scottish. Oh yeah, when it fucking suits, eh? All our learners and the people that support them will benefit from a curriculum. Then they get away with just fucking flat out lying first and foremost because they're eradicating the... Like, when I read the other stuff on that website, if I include it, if I don't, then I don't write. But trust me when I say this, they're eradicating the fucking Scottish identity from Scottish people in order to accommodate BAMEs. That's global citizenship, in a nutshell. That's what it is. But they get away with this fucking nonsense. Oh, this will benefit everybody. Oh, how will it benefit everybody? So you claim the current status quo benefits whites and it doesn't benefit BAMEs, but if we implement your worldview and your cancerous ideology into the curriculum through a fucking critical race theory framework, that will somehow benefit both parties? Oh, you've got it fucking sussed out. It's Khajiit Mohammed, of course. Oh, you know, she's the big brain guru. Maybe she's correct. Nah. This is going to potentially benefit, in theory, benefit your group. But they say anyway, as I say, they will benefit from a curriculum, a culture and an ethos that reflects the diversity of the early learning and school community and Scotland and the wider world. Oh, because Scotland's just so fucking diverse, isn't it? I know it's changing, but it's not currently at Zimbabwe levels, is it now? Fuck's sake. The curriculum will include the historical and current influence on society and the culture and the contribution of people of colour and people with a racialised identity. So there we go again, we're still pushing the idea that race doesn't exist at all, right? A racialised identity and in a positive and empowered way. So fucking Jesus Christ. the role of Scotland and the UK in the colonial history, but we won't talk about the people that sold us the slaves to begin with. We won't talk about the slave trade that continued after we stopped. We won't talk about the other people that were involved in the ships that took the slaves over to Central America and whatnot. And we won't talk about any other form of slavery that's ever taken place at any point in history now, because it's all about the white man, in order for you to then say, oh, see all that so-called racism that took place back 400, 500 fucking years ago, yeah, well, it still exists today. But what's your proof? Disparities. Get it up, you man, that's what you're doing. I'm making a joke out of it, and I'm sort of narrowing it down for the purpose of the video, but that's more or less, by and large, what you're fucking doing. You want to promote this shit about colonialism, etc., but through the critical race theory lens, so you can then use that as justification to continue to insist that all the plights that you face today is just an extension of. Fucking... And the impact of us in the modern world. Featuring teaching and learning to ensure our young people have an understanding and awareness of the impact of colonialism, including the UK's role in enslavement and other human rights violations, past and present. Oh, I'm present, alright. And then it's actions to be continued, related work, embedding race equality into schools, curriculum framework review. Let's just get a bunch of BAMEs to review our curriculum. Fuck off. And then who's top of the members list for this, and who's the chair of this group? Kajida Big Brain Guru Mohammed. So you know that you're in safe hands when she is on the prowl, Oh, it must be great to see her at the head of the table. You step aside, Roman Reigns. We got Kajida Mohammed, man. Oh, fuck. I mean, look at some of the names of these people, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah. Proper Scottish names. It's long gone the days of Tam and Dougal. Nah, it's fucking Ashif Kishinti and Hakim Din. Oh, yeah. And whatever her name is. And they all come from a plethora of different groups and organisations, all centering around the same core principles of anti-racism and or critical race theory. It's a fucking joke. Oh, God. And then Education Scotland, and who's there again? The same woman, as I've said, who created the retro literacy programme. There she is. And then the Scottish Government, we've got four heads from the government, or AI, and Stuart Downs. I think I've heard of him, but the other three, not a damn peep. But, again, just goes to show. I'm so glad I found this, but for all the wrong reasons, really. This one is the racist incidents subgroup, racism and racist incidents, I should say. With this group being one of they repeat the same tribe as the last one, but this is a shorter one, so I don't need to ramble for too long. But it's less members included within. But is there any of worthy note? I don't know how to pronounce her name. It's probably racist to attempt it, but I've heard her hard. Not a very nice woman, put it that way. And who's there again? Well, of course, there's no smoke without fire. It's the same woman I've had to reference for the third time. She sat there in this panel. Isn't that nice and special and bold and brave and progressive, right? So then we can come on to the diversity in the teaching profession. Oh, but I must add as well, a racist incident, as I've said before. I watched Richard Lucas and some boy talking about it to a certain extent when they were going for the S&P manifesto. A racist incident isn't an incident that's racist, by the way, just to anybody out there that isn't aware. It's an incident where the person who's the alleged victim perceives it to be a racist incident. So you could get called a fucking dickhead by a white guy, and you could perceive that to be a racist incident. Or let's take Kajida Mohammed's own example in one of the EIS publications, where they claim a fucking stare could be racist. A stare, a racist stare. Get real. I'm just saying. And that doesn't mean I'm saying that racist incidents don't occur before some being tries to say that I'm being a racist and this video is a racist incident. And we then have a diversity in the teaching profession and education workforce subgroup, because diversity in the teaching workforce is something that gets these anti-racists up in the morning. I don't know what they've said. Well, I do actually, because they don't see that they like all these white teachers. What the fuck are you doing here, man? We need some more Kenyans. Home economics just isn't the same as the fucking anti-racist Kenyans. The diversity in the teaching profession and education workforce subgroup is one of the 4 work streams. So again, just repeating the same shit. The vision, again, very short and sweet to the point. The group has a vision that Scotland's education workforce at all levels reflects and supports the racial diversity of modern Scotland, because we don't live in Scotland anymore, we live in modern Scotland now. You know, what's the difference between Scotland and modern Scotland? Well, first of all, they've labelled it modern Scotland, and yes, it's the modern times, but, you know, any point in history at that point in time would have been modern Scotland if you want to go down that route. But I think what they're really getting at here is it's becoming more and more diverse, and there's not a damn fucking thing you can do about it. And they say as well, thereby enriching, do not do this, enriching the education experience, for the whole school community. Yeah, as I said, I mean, trust me, if you've not gone to school with Kenyan home economics teachers, you ain't fucking lived, you know? I'm the white, pale, male and stale guy telling you how to bake cakes. No, you need the Kenyans. And while you're being taught how to, you know, blend your flour and whatnot in together to get that plump little cake dough, you'll be taught all about anti-racism and microaggressions. You know, and the members list again. Quite a big one for us, is it no? Education Scotland. Oh, there she is again. Jesus, she's really loving life at the moment. She's very involved in all things politics in Scotland these days in the anti-racist world. You know, as I pointed out years ago, she was a whack job, but I did make a point of saying that rest assured these people from that website in particular would eventually get what they wanted, and I've been vindicated. But I don't take any pleasure from it, trust me. Rowena Ashrad, the woman herself, who's fucking obsessed with the diversifying of our teaching workforce, so of course she'd be there in some capacity. And then there's people from the government, more ball bags, non-entities. You know, imagine going into politics and you end up getting laughed at. Stuck with that shit show. Fuck that. The education, the wrong one. Education leadership and professional learning subgroup. So this is the last one. We have, my laptop's making dodgy noises. That better not be fucking around my microphone. The Education Leadership and Professional Learning subgroup is one of 4 work streams established by the Learning Directorate working towards race equality and anti-racism in the education system as part of the wider race equality and anti-racism education programme. You know, same shit, different post. And the vision in this instance is to have Scotland's educators and leaders being confident, committed and empowered to promote, which is just empowered, the fucking word, to promote equality, disparities, equity, foster good relations. Nothing screams out fostering good relations. I said relations. Fuck. Jesus Christ. What? Fostering good relations. Nothing screams out fostering good relations quite like, you know, reminding everybody in their so-called colourblind society that race actually is something we should talk about, and you're a wanker because you're white. Essentially. Now step aside, whitey. Let the Bain Kenyan head teachers come in. As a result of understanding race in a social context, identify, prevent, and deal with racism. As a result of understanding race in a school context and by deploying skilled and passionate leadership, they can empower and support an anti-racist culture. So in order to achieve a so-called anti-racist culture, they need to tell a bunch of colourblind white kids that, oh, by the way, racism, it's everywhere, microaggressions, etc. You're exuding in those microaggressive stares, etc. And we're going to talk all about it. You're going to be taught to no end about it. The curriculum's going to be reformed to talk to no end about it. Everything's going to be about fucking anti-racism. Everything's going to be about the plight of the BAMEs and oppression, etc., etc. All you're going to hear about is racism, but that somehow will help us to go towards, transition towards our anti-racist culture. An anti-racist culture which is nothing short of a critical race theorised fucking culture. Can't wait for that one, eh? And then they go on with their members list. We've got Kajida, the big brain guru, of course, you know. And I mean, she must have the most fantastic frontal cortex, you know. I mean, just exuding with mathematical equations and BAME-related talking points. Just zing, zing, zing. She's just fantastic. You know, I'm so glad she's there. She could do this all by herself, but it's nice to know that she's got a team of non-entities that want to emulate her success, because Kajida is someone that we can all, even I'm jealous of Kajida Mohammed, to be honest. I heard she has children. She got a husband. Mr. Mohammed must be a very lucky man. That's all I'm saying. Wow. You must be a fucking riveting woman to live alongside, you know. Can you pass me the salt? No, don't look at me like that. Me and microaggressions. Fuck's sake. But anyway, you know, jokes aside, you know, critical race theory. That's the point. If you take anything away from my half-hour video that could have been done in 2 fucking minutes, but that's me all over, just take that from it. Critical race theory. Clear as day. Thanks for doing my job for me, folks.